In the heart of Britain, a quiet debate has been waged, not in the courts of law, but in the court of public opinion. It is a debate about fear, faith, and the fragile boundary between truth and myth. For years, the phrase Sharia law has echoed across headlines and political speeches, often detached from its real meaning. To some, it is portrayed as a creeping threat to British sovereignty. To others, it is an expression of faith, a way of living with moral coherence in a plural society. But what is the truth? What is the legal reality behind this charged phrase that has divided communities and shaped the national conversation? Sharia, literally meaning the path, is not a codified book of punishments or a rival to the British Constitution. It is a moral and spiritual framework derived from the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. In its essence, it guides prayer, charity, family life, and personal ethics. It is a compass for the believer, not a law for the land. For British Muslims, it represents a way to seek moral guidance in personal matters, marriage, divorce, inheritance, much as Christians may turn to canon law or Jews to the Beth Din. It is a private, voluntary form of religious arbitration, not an alternative to the civil courts of the United Kingdom. Yet in the imagination of the far right, Sharia has been weaponized into an emblem of invasion. The claim that it threatens British law or that it governs secret enclaves across the nation has no legal basis. Parliament remains sovereign. The courts of England and Wales interpret and enforce the law. No council, no imam, no forum can supersede it. The British legal system has made this clear again and again. The rulings of Sharia councils have no binding force unless both parties voluntarily agree under civil arbitration. And even then, equality and human rights override any decision that contradicts them. The primacy of UK law is absolute. So where does this fear come from? The answer lies not in law, but in politics and perception. Across Europe, far-right movements have seized upon Islam as a symbol of the other, using selective images and exaggerated claims to rally support. They speak of no-go zones, parallel courts, and creeping Islamization, yet none of these claims hold up to scrutiny. There are around 30 to 85 Sharia councils in the UK, modest local bodies that mediate in family or ethical disputes. They have no power to arrest, no authority to compel, no jurisdiction over anyone who does not consent. Their very existence has been distorted into proof of an imagined takeover. The tactics are familiar: distortion of statistics, conflation of global events, and the refusal to acknowledge official statements. They cite the number of councils as evidence of a shadow state, ignoring their advisory character. They conflate brutal punishments in distant nations with the pastoral work of British imams. They dismiss government assurances as political correctness. This is how a moral code becomes a spectre, how a community's spiritual practice becomes the far right's rallying cry. And yet, the damage is real. Misinformation corrodes trust. It isolates Muslims, especially women, who already navigate the complexities of cultural and legal identity. It fuels Islamophobia and normalizes suspicion. In the name of defending British values, it tears at the very fabric of British fairness. The lie travels faster than the truth, amplified by algorithms and tabloid sensationalism. But the truth remains steady. Sharia councils operate within the law, not above it. They fill a pastoral need, not a constitutional void. When the British government reviews the operation of these councils, its purpose is not to suppress them, but to protect those who might be vulnerable within them. To ensure that no woman is pressured into unfair settlements, that every citizen knows her civil rights, that equality remains non-negotiable. Far from empowering Sharia, the government's position has been constant. There is no legal Sharia in the UK, only civil law under which all are equal. Within the Muslim community itself, diversity of opinion is vast. There is no single voice, no single interpretation. Some value Sharia's ethical framework for personal guidance. Others prefer to keep religion entirely private. Polls reveal that most British Muslims reject harsh or literalist interpretations. The overwhelming majority see no contradiction between faith and citizenship. They live within the law and contribute to society in the same spirit as any other Briton. The myth of uniformity that Muslims as a whole yearn for a theocracy is itself a construct of fear. To understand Sharia's place in Britain is to see it as part of a wider tapestry of religious pluralism. Jews have their Beth Din, Catholics their canon law, Christians their conciliation forums. All operate under the same principle: voluntary participation, subject always to civil oversight. This is not legal fragmentation. It is a sign of maturity, a testament to Britain's long tradition of tolerating difference without compromising the rule of law. And yet, some public figures continue to exploit the topic. When members of Parliament or media pundits proclaim the rise of Sharia Britain, they may not break the law, but they break trust. Democracy allows false speech, but it also allows correction. Parliamentary standards, public scrutiny, and civil society all play their role in calling out deliberate misinformation. When hate speech crosses into incitement, criminal law applies. When broadcasters spread falsehoods, Ofcom's code of accuracy can be invoked. But perhaps the most powerful antidote to misinformation is clarity. When the Home Office or Ministry of Justice issue clear statements, accessible, factual and firm, they strip away the oxygen of myth. They give journalists, educators and ordinary citizens the tools to challenge fear with fact. Still, the Sharia takeover narrative endures. It persists not because of evidence, but because it serves a purpose. It feeds into broader anxieties about immigration, multiculturalism, and national identity. It turns complexity into simplicity, pluralism into peril. It packages the unknown into something to resist. And the media, hungry for attention, too often oblige. Stories of hidden courts and creeping laws sell more papers than the quiet truth of coexistence. Sensationalism blurs distinctions between criminal abuse and consensual faith practice, between coercion and choice, between crime and culture. In doing so, it misguides the public and marginalizes the innocent. The responsible path forward lies in education, empathy, and legal literacy. Citizens deserve to know that the rule of law in Britain is unshakable. They deserve to know that equality before the law is protected by the Human Rights Act and the Equality Act. They deserve to know that no religious council, mosque or minister can override these rights. And Muslims deserve to be seen not as suspects but as fellow citizens whose faith, like any other, coexists within a democratic framework. In the end, the story of Sharia in the United Kingdom is not one of conflict, but of coexistence. It is a story of how law and faith can inhabit the same society without rivalry. It is about a secular state that allows spiritual expression, about a people navigating multiple identities without contradiction. It is about how misinformation, once unmasked, reveals not danger, but the endurance of Britain's legal and moral order. The truth is simple, though often drowned in noise. Sharia in Britain is advisory, voluntary, and bound by civil law. The only sovereign authority in this land remains Parliament and the courts. The myth of takeover is precisely that, a myth, born of fear, sustained by politics, and disproved by reality. To dispel it requires courage, understanding, and the quiet conviction that facts matter more than fear. Because when a society learns to tell truth from fiction, it reclaims not only its laws, but its conscience.